Hello, everybody. I cannot begin to tell you how difficult this reading was to pull. I pulled 4 different spreads, and each time I knew that the reading was actually personal to me, because in the process of doing this reading, I was contemplating something in my own life, something coming up in the next couple of days of my life that I was feeling deeply uncomfortable about, and that I had not really allowed myself to explore. And this certain something comes into complete alignment with everything that we talked about last week about these 3 different Mercury retrogrades in water signs, and how each one sort of corresponds to some kind of emancipation from the ties that bound us to parts of the shadow self that we have had to explore. And Scorpio season is now officially in full swing. And nothing is more shadow-oriented than Scorpio. The lightness cannot exist without the darkness. And everything about this reading is extremely pertinent to this particular exploration of who we are in the shadows, in the darkness, when we are alone, when we are left to our own devices, when we are at one with ourselves without the judgment of the world around us, and without the need to conform to morality, to political correctness. A lot of the times people become very confused when facing the shadow self, in the sense that they think that this is some kind of deep, dark, looming monster that they have to wrestle with that they'd rather not, and so therefore everything that has anything to do with the shadow self is cast aside and ignored, and we think it's just going to go away. But emotional Mercury retrogrades, as has been the case all of this year with these retrogrades being in water signs, and with the Neptunian aspects that we've had on and off throughout the year, all of this amounts to the need to come into full alignment and full understanding of the shadows that lurk within us. The things that we don't like to accept about ourselves, because they don't fit into the status quo. They don't fit into the acceptable public image that we have decided we need to project in order to feel that we belong, and that we can be a part of something, and that we have slowly come to the understanding that it doesn't serve our higher self to be conforming to something that doesn't actually reflect who we truly are. And we don't have to do things that we don't want to do. And if we pay attention to our intuition, which can only exist when we've explored the darkness as well as the light, we are able to make informed decisions that serve our highest good, our happiness, our balance, our fulfillment, and our evolutionary process. Our underlying energy, for some strange reason, came from a different deck, but it's just the way it happened. I can't explain to you why, but it was the Fool. I was flip-flopping between two decks and couldn't get the Rider-Waite to give me anything other than a personal reading, and so I put that down, took this, and then this card flew out immediately while I was shuffling, and I was guided to decide that this was the underlying energy of the week ahead. The Fool, the beginning, a new beginning. Clean that frickin' slate. Be whole by accepting your darkness. That is what allows you to pave a new road forward into the light. It was clarified by the 10 of Pentacles, which we can basically understand as being a directive as to what this new chapter and this new path is leading us to. And the 10 of Pentacles is the essential, it's essentially the fulfillment beyond all fulfillments of being in absolute harmony and bliss with our external social selves. Whew, I don't know why, I just feel like I have like so much electricity and energy shooting through me as I'm doing this reading. It's like there's such an epiphany in all of this, and I don't even feel that the words that are coming out of me are actually like intellectualized or thought through. They're just kind of coming out of me, and I'm just going with it because I'm learning something major from these cards and from this reading and from this whole process. As I said, while I was shuffling, well, I went through a whole process of like decision about something. Some people in my life, just to give you some context, I spent the last 2 years figuring out how to stop making myself small. Great irony being that I'm just seeing myself in the camera right now and I look tiny. Maybe that is the universe expressing allegorical process. So, to explain, I went back to Lyon, which is where I grew up, and I encountered people there from my past who I accommodated through every orifice of my body in order to make myself fit their lives and their world. And these people subsequently consistently disrespected me. And most of the reason why I put up with their shit was because of money. Because I had received money from them, or they were allowing me to exist in a very difficult period of my life, financially. And as a result, I felt the need to make myself smaller and smaller and smaller, and to change myself over and over again, and to put up with things that were absolutely intolerable. And this came to a full force apotheosis in July of this year, while Mercury was retrograde in Cancer. And it was fucked up. I went through a really horrible experience. I felt like my boundaries have been like torn apart, left, right, and center from all angles in my life. and I had a nervous breakdown as a result of it. And I was supposed to reconnect with somebody this weekend who was very much a part of that. Sort of unwittingly. This person is not inherently evil. Very few people actually are, if any. But they are an archetype. They represent an archetype in my life that is deeply toxic and that I have worked very hard to grow beyond. And sometimes you gotta put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, and walk the talk. So, on that note, that may have sounded a little bit cryptic, but the reason I'm sharing it with you is because I feel that's what this energy of this week is all about. What realizations are you coming to in your life where you feel that you have disempowered yourself? That you have allowed yourself to become small in order to accommodate somebody else's need to take up too much space. Now, we can't hold other people accountable for more than they are accountable for. In other words, we have to accept our own complicity in such arrangements. But when we have been functioning in a place of vulnerability from victimhood, which is where we were at in the last God knows how many years that we have moved out of this year, as we moved out of this Piscean energy, when Chiron moved out of Pisces into Aries, we have had the opportunity to grow beyond wanting to define ourselves in victimhood. So this is all correlated. Sorry for the strange noises, but here we go. In our past energy, where we're coming from energetically this week, we had the infamous Eight of Cups, walking away from all that emotional turmoil that kept us in poverty consciousness. You know, not necessarily always such a terrible thing to be in the position where you have 8 cups. But when it's the 9th and 10th cup that you have your eye on, and you know that that's the only way that you're going to reach fulfillment and spiritual enlightenment and continued growth, you have to look at those 8 cups and hedge your bets and keep walking. Because you can't find the other 2 cups if you're focused on the ones you already have had. This was clarified by the King of Swords cutting through with the truth, coming into an epiphany, coming into our strength, coming into self-confidence, self-assuredness in understanding where we come from, what our experience has been, and why we have been through the things that we've been through, in order to come into Queen of Cups energy, which is that inner kindness that comes from having gone through so much that we find more worth in reflecting our experiences through warmth rather than coldness, because we have explored our subconscious mind to the point that we understand who we are, we understand how we feel and why we feel that way, and rather than punishing the world around us, we come into alignment with who we want to be in the world and who we want to inspire other people to be in the world, and we embody that. This was followed by the Temperance card, coming into balance and alignment once again, in particular in terms of what we put into our bodies and how we treat our bodies and our mind, perhaps coming into a place of learning how to meditate, getting back into a workout routine, respecting our bodies more, finding better hygiene for ourselves, whether that be sleep, diet, sexual hygiene, physical hygiene. Hopefully that's not your problem. And this was clarified by the World card, which is to say that in finding this balance, in practicing this balance, in finding our center, we are released from the karmic path that we have been on. The World card is the card of ending. It is the card of knowledge attainment complete. This was followed by the Moon, which actually came out in all 4 of the readings I tried to pull prior to this one. So it's definitely a strong influence. The Moon being the card of intuition, but also self-doubt, of inner turmoil, of needing to go on that journey into the subconscious mind, as you see represented by the waters at the bottom of this, and the power of the Moon over our inner being, and the lunar cycle. It can also insinuate that we've been through some mental strife, because it's sort of a bit of the card of, well, I don't like to use the term madness, because madness is just a label. Please point out the person on this earth that is not shown signs of madness at one time or another. It's just about whether we're in alignment or disalignment. But all of this process may have put us in a place of doubt and crisis that we are now coming out of. And it was clarified by the Hermit, the card of going inward, and as you see, those colors complement each other well. The Hermit is going on the search for the star, and the star being enlightenment. And you know how he gets there, or how he got there? This is our past energy, our underlying energy, by looking at all of those choices, the 7 of Cups, and realizing that even though there are 7 cups to choose from, at least 5 of them are full of shit, or things that don't really serve our higher self. We move into our present energy, the 7 of Wands, boundary setting. What is going on in your life right now that requires boundary setting, or that you have been going through this struggle? I explained to you what mine is. It was figuring out that I'm still doing, I was still on the verge of making a decision to do something that actually doesn't serve me at all, and that would risk provoking turmoil within me that I don't really need to be feeling, and it would be very foolish of me to put myself in that position at this particular juncture in life. It was clarified by an upside down 5 of Swords. And as you may know, if you've already been watching my channel since I began it, I don't usually read reversals, but when one card comes out particularly wanting to be reversed, I accept it, particularly when it's a clarifier. The 5 of Swords is the card of Well, I think of it as being a selfish card. I think of it being a false victory card. It's the idea of winning the battle but losing the war. And it is also the card of, in the upright position, winning but having the fallout of other people walking away from us because we didn't win in a fair way. And when it's reversed, that says to me that having learned those boundaries of the Seven of Wands, we've come into an understanding of we are walking away. That Eight of Cups energy, in its more tangible setting, in our present right now. What are we walking away from? It doesn't have to be in the outside world, it could be inside of ourselves, seeing as we just were talking about that Moon, Hermit, Seven of Cups energy. But if it is manifesting, well, the reality is, if we are doing that, if we've been through that process on the inside, the chances are that it's going to manifest in some shape or form into our tangible reality. We then move into the Two of Wands. Two of Wands usually represents a decision, but because two clarifiers came out, it gave me the understanding of what we were deciding between. We're deciding between this Five of Cups energy, which is crying over spilled milk, looking backwards, staying grounded in the past, not letting loose from the past? Or do we want the Knight of Cups, an emotional offer of fulfillment, of adventure, of something new, of some kind of new challenge, of some kind of new opportunity to grow emotionally wiser, more stable, more mature, more nurturing? I mean, if you're really hesitating between those two choices, I don't know what to say to you. And it may be that this is what this is indicating, because something is being broken down as a result of this choice. And if you're choosing to go for the Knight of Cups energy, now, this tower isn't going to feel particularly unpleasant. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be something traumatic. It doesn't have to be something disastrous or the dissolution of something positive. It is more likely to be the dissolution of something negative. Because what happens when you let go of all of this sorrow and all of this negative reinforcement, you move into the Wheel of Fortune. The tides are turning. Fortune is moving in your favor. It's the card of good luck. And it makes perfect sense. It's the law of attraction. If you choose the Knight of Cups over the Five of Cups, it stands to reason that your life is going to get a hell of a lot better. Moving into our future energies, so this is what we're going to see arise in the coming week, and it's energy that is carried forth, because nothing can be that time stamped, nothing can be that time specific. So it's, you know, whatever we're birthing right now, it could be something that manifests in a month, in next week, in 3 months, you know. It's a process, so therefore you're starting to feel it now, it will keep growing. And what did we say in our recent past? We were in this hermit energy, a hermit going on that inner journey in order to heal and to seek out that star. And we have the star, we find it, we find the star, we come into that perfect balance. Talked about this. I love the depiction of the higher self nirvana, enlightenment, the 7 chakras, the other stars in the sky that are in total alignment with our conscious and subconscious mind, and we're nourishing the soil around us emotionally, spiritually, physically. This was followed by 3 of Swords, clarified by the 4 of Cups and the Queen of Swords. So I didn't really understand how to see this, because the 3 of Swords is so often associated with heartbreak or loss. But because it was clarified by the 4 of Cups, I am understanding this as letting go of this energy. Again, this is another thing this is the next part of our process as a result of this enlightenment, is that we stop looking for cups that don't exist. We start looking at what we have. We start looking at what's in front of us. We start looking at what's on offer, because we feel in complete alignment and balance with the universe and the elements around us. And therefore, if we see something being offered to us, we see it as a gift from the universe. Of course, you're entitled to choose not to take a gift, but all experiences are worth having. And if you have an open mind, or if you're in a good frame of mind, and you believe in yourself, and you believe that these are always divine gifts, you embrace it, you take what you can from it, and you give what you can in return. And on the other hand, we had the Queen of Swords, which tells me that the way that we do this is through self-confidence. This is ultimately about the more we go through this process of acceptance of what has happened and letting go of it, and that we are in control of ourselves, that we are sovereign beings, that we have absolute authority over ourselves to decide what is right for the highest good and for the greatest version of ourselves to emerge, we step out of this energy. And it's not a painful process, but naturally it's one that can provoke some emotional discomfort, or some emotional well, we can feel, we obviously, when we step away from things, we can feel sadness from removing ourselves from something that we have been accustomed to, or that has felt comfortable to us. As the old saying goes, better the devil you know. The more we know in life, the more we realize how stupid that saying really is. Because when we love life, and when we are aspiring to be our best self, we have no desire to stay stuck in a rut. We have no desire to stay in energies and experiences that don't serve us or serve the collective around us. We want to become something that is as free an agent as possible in order to accept as many of these gifts from the universe. And, we have this Knight of Cups energy that we can choose to take, of expansion, of love, of opportunity. And the only way to experience life this way and to be open to this energy is to step away from this. This is probably, to me, one of the worst cards in the deck if it resonates as being who we actually are. Nobody wants to really be in this state of mind. It's being bored, it's being uninterested, it's being disengaged, and it's kind of being a spoiled brat. It's kind of like saying, no, I want that. But then you have all these other offers, and you're just gonna ignore those. And be so arrogant as to think that you know better than the universe as to what opportunities you should be entitled to. And when you're in alignment energetically with the universe and with your higher self, all opportunities become enticing. That was a bit of a tangent there. But we end on the High Priestess and Death. So Death actually came out first. The High Priestess came out to clarify that, and I hadn't really given it any thought until just now as to what that meant, but what came through for me is that the High Priestess is the highest seeker of knowledge, knowledge of the self, knowledge of the world around her, from darkness and light. You see those two columns? One doesn't exist without the other. And it's only through the death of the old, the acceptance of letting go of this energy, not just staying stuck, holding on to whatever feelings we've decided to get stuck in, cutting through them. The Queen of Swords, like the King of Swords that we had at the very beginning of the reading that allowed us to move beyond the Eight of Cups. I mean, it's a full cycle here, because, I mean, ultimately, as we've said before, this is the process of life. What we do is we have experiences, they cause us to have reactions, emotional responses, we process them in our subconscious mind, we allow them to become the embodiment of our spirit, and then our spirit allows those to go back out into the world in order to create new opportunities, new experiences, to share our knowledge and our experiences with other people and allow them to share theirs with us. Sometimes there's combustion, sometimes there's synergy. Whichever way, it creates a new process of the flow of the conscious and the subconscious mind. And the truth, being self-confident in our truth. Not in a way where we have to fight our way through life, with boundaries, this, old way of the upright Five of Swords. We saw that turned around, remember? We don't need that anymore. We just are who we are. We own it, and we accept other people for who they are, and we stop trying to change them with our moody little bitch faces and our victim consciousness. Woe, poor me, I can't even speak English now, blah blah blah, let it go, because you've moved into a new chapter, the Fool, remember, the underlying energy, a journey towards the Ten of Pentacles. But guess what? In order to get to the Ten of Pentacles, we don't have any more Pentacles in this reading, ironically. So it's kind of interesting that that was the underlying energy, but then we don't actually have the Pentacles in the reading. So we are at ground zero of a new process. That's exciting. That is something to look forward those coins will show up in subsequent readings. But for now, sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. Whew. Okay, moving on. We are going to take our animal spirit oracle card, or spirit animal oracle card, should I say. And this week we got Nightingale Spirit. Love is all around. How apt. And I shall read from that. What number is that? 41. Here we go. In the darkness of night, nightingale... Oh, I can't speak English. What is wrong with me today? In the darkness of night, nightingale spirit sings her song of love and hope, a harbinger of dawn to remind you that the sun will rise again soon. You are so loved, and the illumination song of the nightingale spirit calls you to a new level of self-awareness and connection with the light. Yes, there is shadow and darkness, but love and prosperity exist everywhere, even in the seeming emptiness of space, darkness, and a starless night. Hearken to the message, letting the music of the nightingale's song remind you that love is all around. Feel it, and trust in tomorrow's light, renewing your ability to recognize that the spaces that appear empty are filled with love and abundance. Illumination will happen soon. The darker the skies, the more it seems the dawn will never appear. But Nightingale Spirit is here to remind you that the sun will shine again. You will soon feel the love and notice the abundance that surrounds you. Sing now. Put on some music or simply sing in the empty space, for finding the light within and giving it voice will give rise to hope and help you begin to hear the call of another who, like you, was beginning to fear the light would never come. Bring the light into the darkness with love from within, give it voice, and know that daybreak will be here soon. I think that might be a little bit of what we are experiencing right now. I can feel it. That was what the electricity was that I started feeling when I was reading this. It wasn't just my own energy, it's the collective energy, and it is... There's something that we are going to process this week that is going to allow us to unshackle ourselves from something that's deeply uncomfortable in our shadow self. And the only way that we're going to do that is to give ourselves the time and opportunity to make the right choices for ourselves in order for us to be able to hear our inner voice. So take a little bit of time to do that. And sing, I guess. That's what we were told to do. So, embarrassingly enough for myself, and for you, I always put music at the end of my videos, which are recordings that I do, or have done. And in the spirit of this reading, I'm just going to sing a cappella for you. Why not? And I've chosen the wonderful Eurythmics song, The Miracle of Love, because it goes with the message from Nightingale Spirit, and with this reading as a whole. So, here I go. How many sorrows do you try to hide in a world of illusion that's covering your mind? Oh, I'll show you something good. Oh, I'll show you something good. When you open your mind, you'll discover the sign that there's something you're longing to find. The miracle of love will take away your pain. and the miracle of love will come your way again. Cruel is the night that covers up your fears. Tender is the one that wipes away your tears. There must be a bitter breeze to make you sting so viciously. They say the greatest coward can hurt the most ferociously. So I'll show you something good. Oh, I'll show you something good. When you open your heart, you can make a new start. When your crumbling world falls apart, the miracle of love will take away your pain. When the miracle of love comes your way again. Embarrassment aside, I love you all. I wish you a fantastic week ahead, and be the best version of yourself you can.